Good afternoon. My name is Vegaaviles, and my purpose today is to persuade you to support a mandatory uniform policy in public schools. The question is, should students be required to wear a uniform to public school? Public schools should wear school-specific uniform to decrease in crimes, bullying, assault, and discipline. Now, will eliminating school uniforms make schools safer for students? I have experienced the mandatory policy in wearing uniforms and being able to wear regular clothes to public schools. And because I am concerned about whether students should be required to wear a uniform, I have conducted a lot of research, and there are several strong arguments in favor of school requiring school uniforms. Whether you are a parent, an educator, or a public school student, we are all associated by one common factor: our investment in the future of all students. Students of all ages are impressionable, thus the choices we make about school policies can have a very big effect on their school experience. After today, I am confident that you will not only agree with my solution to this problem, but you will be willing to support efforts to implement the solution. I will begin by describing the problem, then cover some of its causes, and conclude with my solution. With a roadmap in place, let's begin with the problem. Despite the benefits, many public school officials refuse to implement a mandatory uniform policy. First, public school officials across the country have increasingly turned their back to the adoption of mandatory dress policies because whether wearing uniforms or not has not made any significant changes to the school environment, they believe. Second, many school officials have found that whether uniforms are implemented or not, students will still act the same. They will still conduct the same mistakes and will act with the same behavior. Now that we know about the problem, let's continue with some of these causes. There are two major causes why many public school officials refuse to implement a mandatory uniform policy. The first major reason is school officials believe that uniforms violate the student freedom of expression, also known by the freedom of speech. However, the First Amendment, free speech, has long been like the government's effort to impose the conformity and orthodoxy in ideas or points of view. According to Lai Denniston in 2014, the Constitution say the school uniform policies violate the First Amendment. It is all not clear how robust that protection is among students who attend public schools, while the Supreme Court said repeatedly that those students do not shed the First Amendment rights when they enter the school. It is said that authorities might sometimes impose some forms of conformity in order to help achievement the school's teaching and civic education missions. The second major reason is that school officials do not believe that school uniforms have impact on the learning environment. However, the learning environment, when the uniforms are enforced, according to Stephen Daniels, found in 2005, according to one survey conducted by the NAESP, principals of schools that have uniform policies in places believe that students stay more disciplined, focused in their students, and they feel less peer pressure. Now that we understand the problem and some of its causes, let's look at the solution. The solution, which is to implement a mandatory uniform policy for all public schools, it offers two major benefits. To begin, eliminating from schools the status and respect many students give to clothing labels and the price tags. Students' attention needs to return to learning in the classroom rather than how they look when they are in the classroom. Mandated uniforms can serve to shift the emphasis from competition back to academic performance and personal achievement. To continue, uniforms improve discipline, self-esteem, and respect. Uniform also bridge differences between students, families, of widely dispersed income levels. Students from modest economic backgrounds are often the target of exclusion because of their dress. In conclusion, wearing school uniforms create a better school environment. Let's review what we have learned today. So first, we'll learn that despite the benefits, many public school officials refuse to implement a mandatory uniform policy because they don't think it makes significant changes to the school environment or improve the student behavior. However, that's what they believe. Now, second, we learn that freedom of expression and the school environment are the two major reasons that the public school do not want to implement uniforms for. Third, we also learn about some of his benefits. We learned that there were two major benefits, and then we learned that the possible solution to this problem is to implement uniforms because it will improve students' behavior in school and not label each other to prefer for like fashion instead that they will respect each other for who they are, for what they go to school for being students, which is the main purpose of how all of us got to where we are. Now, there is a lot of controversy over whether school uniforms should be required. Wearing school uniforms can encourage some students to take responsibilities more seriously. You as parent, student, or even future parent should think about the safety and environment you are putting your kids into when you go into school without the uniform. It is very important, and we explain it throughoutly, that students attending school with uniforms are much safer, in a much safer environment, and more likely, and usually they focus a lot more on school than getting distracted of what they're wearing. What will I wear tomorrow? Instead of thinking about homework, let me just think, oh, what should I buy? That person has something better than me. So every day is just a war about what am I going to wear? I want to be better than everybody else. No. The question is, and the answer should be, I want to be smarter than everybody else. And we need to worry about our children's safety. Thank you for listening. I hope you all understand the need to implement school uniforms, and have a great day.